We've looked at the Bengals' offensive depth chart. Let's talk about the defense. Where are they stronger? Where are they weaker? Where should we be concerned with training camp looming? Hi again, everyone, and welcome in to Cincinnati Bengals Talk. I'm James Rapien of allbengals.com. Hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, and with training camp just a few weeks away, just a reminder that we're giving you day to day. We're bringing you daily coverage right here on Cincinnati Bengals Talk. That's why you want to subscribe, ring the bell, tell a friend about Cincinnati Bengals Talk because, well, you'll be able to get notified whether it's post-practice recaps, highlights, locker room interviews, one-on-one exclusives. You're going to get Bengals coverage here that you don't get anywhere else. And let's dive in. Today's show brought to you by Rivertown Inkery, rivertowninkery.com. I'm wearing another Rivertown shirt today, and you can't see the little logo. Actually, you can. Look at that. Ooh, nice and wavy. Doug and his crew, they do a great job. You got to get some Rivertown in your life because this shirt, it still feels brand new, looks great, and I've had it for well over a year now and plan on wearing it plenty over the next few months because, well, it's perfect time to wear it. So check it out right now, rivertowninkery.com. Check out all the stuff they have, or go to their Finley Market location, and that's their new location, or their location on Madison Road in Oakley. That said, let's dive into the defense. Speaking of defense, they have the Logan Wilson shirt at Rivertown Inkery. So you could check that one out as well. And we can start, actually, let's start with linebackers, mentioning Logan Wilson and this depth chart right here, courtesy of ourlads.com. They do a great job just having the depth charts for all 32 NFL teams. So let's start with linebacker. And Logan Wilson leads the way there. Obviously, the Bengals brought back Jermaine Pratt. Akeem Davis-Gaither, to me, will probably serve as that third linebacker. I feel really good about their depth. It's part of the reason why I was surprised that Jermaine Pratt got re-signed this offseason. And I think that had more to do with his market than anything. I don't think the Bengals went into free agency thinking, hey, we have to keep Jermaine Pratt. But I think he checked out his market, realized it wasn't as hot as he anticipated. And the Bengals said, well, heck yeah, you're valuable. You're a big part of our defense. We didn't want to lose you, but we just assumed you were going to make more money. We'll sign you to a 3-year, $21 million deal, or just shy of 21 million bucks. So Pratt, Wilson, Akeem Davis-Gaither, Joe Bacci, healthy, and came back healthy towards the end of last year, but I'm sure he was still working through some stuff, was primarily a special teamer. But those are your 1 through 4. You feel really good about it. And with Marcus Bailey as your 5, I mean, the Bengals, those are your 5 linebackers that are making the roster. And after that, Keandre Jones, Shaka Hayward, Jalen Moody, Tyler Murray, those guys are all battling for either a spot if there's an injury or for a practice squad spot or to impress the 31 other teams. I mean, that's just how deep they are at linebacker. I feel good about all 5 guys. I think they're locked, loaded, and roster locks, barring something unforeseen. So feel really, really good about this Bengals linebacker unit, the way they work together, the way they fit in Lou Anarumo's defense. And so that's about where it ends. So let's go from the middle part of the defense to the front line in the trenches, because this front 7, I think the beauty, there's been a lot of talk about the secondary, and we will get to that. But the beauty of what the Bengals did this offseason is their front 7's intact. And if you can have a front 7 that's intact, it goes a long way. And so Trey Hendrickson, Sam Hubbard, we know what they bring on the edge. Feel really good about both of those guys. Joseph Ossai came on towards the end of last year. Cam Sample came on towards the end of last year. They signed Terrell Basham. Thought it was an underrated signing as an undrafted free, or as a unrestricted free agent, to a 1-year contract, because it just solidifies the depth in that room. I'm not saying he's a star or that they have a bunch of stars in that defensive line room, but I expect Ossai to take a step forward. I expect Cam Sample to take a step forward. And when you have a guy like Basham who wants to win, and you get him on what's essentially a 1-year, $1 million deal, I think it's just under that, you take it all day long. And then you add Myles Murphy. And I think that's the fun part here is I look at this defensive line room, and you could see the case or see the scenario where Trey Hendrickson's off the field and they still get pressure, or where Trey Hendrickson and Sam Hubbard's off the field and they still get pressure, or where they kick Sam Hubbard inside and they have Myles Murphy on the edge and they can still get pressure. I love the idea of Ossai, Hendrickson, Hubbard, and Murphy being on the field together. I wonder when it will happen, who kicks where. I would assume in that scenario, Murphy would be inside with Hubbard, and you would have Hendrickson on one side, Ossai on the other. But they've played Ossai inside, so maybe you go that route. But the point is you're giving Lou Anarumo options. You can be multiple. And I haven't even hit on the defensive tackle. And I think if you look at the defensive tackles, could they use another 3-tech? Maybe. But maybe the Cam Sample, Zach Carter, those guys can kind of make up for it, because you look at it and you feel really good about BJ Hill. I know I do. DJ Reader, I saw an ESPN ranking earlier this week where they ranked, and it's not them, like it's GMs and executives. Reader wasn't even on the honorable mentions defensive tackle list. Okay, then. That is insane. I'll tell you this, football coaches in the league do not agree with that. And he's certainly on the list. And he's a guy that every offensive coordinator, offensive coaching staff, quarterback, running back, they're all circling 98. So when you start with Reader on the interior of your defensive line, you're starting at such an advantageous spot. And then you have a guy like BJ Hill lining up on next to him. You feel great about it as well. Now, they need Zach Carter, Cam Sample. They need some of these guys to step up. Jay Tufele, maybe Dominique Davis. Obviously, Josh Tupou is going into his last year as well, because you can't play BJ Hill as much as he did last year. It was a lot. And the same thing goes for Hendrickson and Hubbard. And I think that part of it is fun to me. And really the question, how do they balance all of these guys? Because there's a lot of bodies, and yet I don't know if there's a clear-cut pecking order outside of what your starters are. And so balancing that rotation, keeping the starters fresh, I think that's a big question for the defensive line room. But overall, I feel really good about where they're at. Really curious to see how they use Myles Murphy early on. I wonder if he's inside. I wonder if he's outside. I wonder if he gets on the field a ton on defense. We'll see. But they certainly have the depth to keep their starters fresh. So he's a big part of that, no doubt. Let's get to the safety room. And that is the room that had so much turnover. And we'll get to the corners in a second. So much turnover. No Bates, no Bell. I think a lot of people, myself included, thought they'd probably re-sign Bell. They offered him 2 years. He wanted 3, and I get it. So he got his money in Carolina. And so they go out and they get Nick Scott to pair with Dax Hill. You already have Tyson Anderson in that room. And they knew, I talked to guys last year, they knew that they were going to have to, and they were going to get younger in the safety room this offseason. So you go out and you get Nick Scott, you have Dax Hill, you have Tyson Anderson. The thing I don't think anyone expected is for Jordan Battle to fall to them. And he fell to them in round 3, and anyone in the building, because they held him in really high regard. I mean, top 65 player on their board is where I would guess. And maybe I'm a few picks wrong, but I don't think I'm far off on saying that. So you get him 95th, and it's like, okay, this is great. And looking at it, I think they have so much flexibility at safety now. Dax Hill is certainly capable of guarding nickel receivers, right? He's certainly capable of guarding tight ends. He's got the speed, the long speed needed to play on the back end, the athleticism to play all over. So I think Dax Hill can be this chess piece that they drafted him to be and didn't really get him on the field last year. And then you have a guy in Jordan Battle who kind of has that Vonn Bell type role where you can play him as like a box safety. You don't need him to cover a bunch. Not that he can't cover, but you don't need him to cover a bunch. And then obviously you have Nick Scott, a guy who comes in, starting experience, has really good speed, has the deep instincts, can play deep if you need him to. There's also times where he may be off the field in favor of Jordan Battle. And you have Tyson Anderson, who is the fastest of that group, 4.36, as kind of your fourth safety. So feel really good 1 through 4. Mike Thomas, special teams ace, a leader in that room. I like their safety room. I don't think it's the weakness that a lot of people are expecting it to be. Not that it's going to be as good as it was with Bates and Bell. Bates is a really, really high-end safety. Bell has played a lot of games in this league, a lot of big games. I get all that. but I think they're going to be pretty good. They might get tested early. I think they're going to be pretty good though. And don't want to not name Larry Brooks or Yusuf Corker. I think those two guys are battling for a practice squad spot or a spot elsewhere. But that said, I feel pretty good. I think I'm higher on the Bengals safety room than a lot of people are. Let's get to the cornerbacks, because Chidobe Awuzie, just impressive during OTAs. He looked great to me. I mean, he was cutting, stopping, starting, jumping, landing, not hesitating, no brace, working out, coming off of that ACL that he suffered on Halloween, underwent knee reconstruction surgery in November. I expect him to be ready week 1. Who knows if he is? Who knows if that's a fair expectation? Looking at him, I just think he's going to be ready. It's a contract year. I think he'll be ready. I hope he doesn't come back too soon, because they do have some depth in the cornerback room. But if so, obviously Chidobe Awuzie is their number 1 corner. That would be a huge addition to have him from the get-go, from the jump, to start the season. Mike Hilton, one of the best nickel cornerbacks in the game. You have no doubts about him. And then Cam Taylor-Britt came on at the end of last year. We'll see if he could take another step in year 2. That's what the Bengals are banking on. And then I really like what they were able to do, because you go get a guy like Sidney Jones. And this to me is kind of like Terrell Basham, where you add depth at a premium position. And it's a guy who's been around the league, was drafted high, knows exactly what it takes. He has a ring, which it does matter, and has experience in big games and being around winning teams. And the Bengals were trying to land him last year. It didn't happen after he cleared waivers. And I think the Bengals were interested after he cleared waivers, but he had already committed to the Raiders. So ends up landing in Cincinnati this offseason. Really like that addition. And then obviously you add a guy like Juan Drago Turner. DJ Turner is speed. And I think he's going to have to adjust to life in the NFL, because he is a leaner player. And so there might be a little bit of a learning curve there. But from an athleticism standpoint, trait standpoint, production in college standpoint, or the defense he played on at Michigan, I think he's certainly a big part of the Bengals' future at cornerback. And then you look past these guys. Jalen Davis behind Mike Hilton, Alan George. I like the depth he brings. They have a lot of guys here. Marvell Tell the third, I want to mention, but the guy that really stood out during OTAs, and I'm not saying he's going to make the team, because it's really hard for a 7th rounder to make it, but DJ Ivey is a player. He can play. And that's the crazy part. We're talking about a 7th rounder, and you look at him and it's like, oh yeah, he's an NFL corner. Good arm length, good size. He's thick, moves, has good instincts, had a couple passes defensed, had a pick 6 during the red zone during the OTAs final practice, the final practice during OTAs. Like, this dude, oh yeah, or during minicamp OTAs, it all bleeds together. The point is there are a lot of guys in this room that I look at and it's like, man, okay, so let's count them. Cam Taylor-Britt, DJ Turner, Chidobe Awuzie, DJ Ivey, Mike Hilton, Jalen Davis. That's 6. Alan George. They really like Alan George. 7. Did I say Sidney Jones? I think I said Sidney Jones. No, I didn't. Sidney Jones. That's 8. Like, that's a lot of corners. So not all of these guys are going to make the team, but the Bengals are deep in the right spots. And that's why you also don't rush Chidobe Awuzie back. If he's ready to go, that's great. I'm not going to debate him. I'm not going to debate doctors if he's good to go. But if he isn't, okay, that's fine. Because you have the depth at that cornerback spot and the versatility to survive for a few weeks. So overall, I feel really good about this defense. I think they got deeper in the defensive line room. Their secondary looks different. It's younger. I'm not worried about it. I think they'll be solid. They might not have the high-end safety play, but they still have veteran corners. They have enough experience at that safety room, in the safety room. Mike Thomas, he's going to help those guys. And obviously you have a guy in Nick Scott who's going to be on the field a lot. So overall, I really like this Bengals defense. I think they have the ability to reach an even higher level this year. And my expectations for this team are really, really high going into camp. Overall, I'm a big fan. Check out the offensive preview if you haven't seen it yet. Big fan of what they did on offense this offseason as well, where they added, where they got stronger. So I review position by position like we just did on defense for the offense. So if you missed that video, check that out. Hit that subscribe button, ring the bell. And until next time, for Andrew Fox Miller, our channel coordinator, I'm James Rapien, signing off for now on CBT, Cincinnati Bengals Talk.